Hey, it's Chris King with Desert Sun Flutes, and in this video we're going to talk about how your flute actually works, how the sound chamber works, how it makes sound, and how that's important to maintain to make sure that you get the best quality sound possible out of your flute. Now, if you're having sound issues and your flute doesn't quite sound right, this is the first thing to check and probably why you're having problems. Now, this piece right here is what we're going to talk about. It's a piece of wood tied on with leather, and it looks really simple, but it's actually creating an amazing experience that allows you to play the flute very easily. Now, you might have seen some flutes where they're completely hollow, they have a hole in the end or a hole on the side with a sharp lip, and you see people blow them kind of like this. And if you've ever had a flute like that, they're awesome. My first flute was like that, but it takes a long time to learn how to get a good sound out of it. I remember, playing and blowing with that thing for days before I could even get a decent sound to come out of it. And with this piece, it's different. It allows you to blow straight in through the sound hole and get good quality sound and learn how to play the flute very quickly. And the way that works is, it looks like this flute might be totally hollow, but it's not. It's hollow here in this part, the slow air chamber, and it's hollow here as well. But right here where this leather is, there's a little partition or a blockage in the flute. And what that does is it allows air to come in through this part, up through a hole that you can't see underneath the block here, travel along a narrow channel underneath the block, and then come out right here at the sound hole. And if you look down in this hole, the air actually splits right here on a sharp lip. And that splitting of the air is what creates the vibration and makes that beautiful sound. But in order for that to work properly, you've got to make sure that this block is in the right place. You got to make sure that the leather is nice and tight so that it creates a good seal. Because if it's loose, air can leak out around the sides and you'll get kind of a wispy, raspy sound. If it gets too far forward over the hole, that's not going to sound good either. Too far back. Or if it gets kind of crooked like this, it won't sound right. So what you want to pay attention to is to make sure that the front edge of that block is right up against the back edge of the sound hole so that they make a nice flush position there so the air can come out and split really nicely on this lip. Now, it's really good to get into a practice and a ritual of checking this every time you play. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but when you grab your flute and you're getting ready to play, just kind of fiddle with it and make sure that it's in the right place. You also kind of want to move it back and forward just a little bit and experiment and see what sounds good. Every flute is a little bit different, and some might play good with that block a millimeter up or millimeter back. You'll see a lot of flute players do this. As soon as you pick up a flute, they'll mess with the block, make sure it's right before they play. Now, another thing I want to talk about is wet out. And that's exactly what it sounds. The flute actually gets too wet from playing. And the reason that is you're blowing into the flute and your breath has moisture in it. So it's creating condensation as you play. And what happens is moisture builds up underneath this block and in this air channel, and it gets so wet inside of there that the flute doesn't sound good anymore. And if you've been playing for a while and you're starting to notice the sound quality deteriorating, that's a good chance that's what's happening with your flute. Now, there are some ways to help you continue to play for a little bit. One is to force that moisture out from under the channel. And the way to do that is to take your finger, kind of like you're covering one of the sound holes while you're playing. You put it over that hole there, hold the block down tight, and blow really hard into the air hole. And it'll be hard to blow, but what that will do is it will force moisture out the sides of the sound hole. And you'll actually see little droplets of moisture come out if it works properly, and that'll buy you a little bit of time, but not a whole lot. Eventually your flute just needs to take a break. And in the beginning, this can be really frustrating because you buy your flute, you get your first new flute, you're loving it, you're playing it all the time, and you get this wet out experience and you can't play anymore. That's why you'll find that it's actually really nice to have a collection of flutes so that you can rotate them. And when one gets too wet, you put it aside and you play another one. And as you collect some more flutes, which you probably will, it's a really fun part of this practice, you'll find that you don't have this problem as much because you're rotating through them. But in the beginning, when you've got one flute, you can blow the moisture out. Another thing you can do is take this block or fetish off, untie the leather, and then let the track area and block dry, and it'll help speed up the process. That's also a really great thing to do in maintaining your flute, is once in a while take this off and just kind of check out what's going on under here. It's really cool to see how it works and understand your instrument better. Also can get pieces of debris and dust in there and helps you clean it out. So that's how your flute works. I hope this has helped you. If you have any questions, let us know, and make sure you check out the other videos on how to actually play the flute. Enjoy. I'll talk to you soon.